The Silver Spur saloon was thick with the smell of stale beer and desperation. Jedediah Keller nursed a whiskey, the burn doing little to soothe the ache in his ribs. Across the room, Cyrus Blackwood, a ghost of the man he'd known, watched the comings and goings with eyes that seemed to see right through the flimsy walls of the saloon. "They say Walker's lawyers are arguing diminished capacity," Cyrus said, his voice low and raspy, claiming the head injury from the stagecoach accident impacted his judgment. Jedediah scoffed. Walker always had a fondness for dramatic excuses. Doesn't change the fact he tried to kill Elara. It's a convenient narrative, Cyrus agreed, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. Diverts attention from the real players. Jedediah knew Cyrus was referring to Elara Thorne and the unsettling feeling that lingered in his gut whenever he was near her. He couldn't shake the sense that she was orchestrating events from behind a veil of cultivated innocence. "Harding seems to be falling all over himself to appease the Thorne family," Jedediah said, watching the portly sheriff's nervous interactions with a group of townsfolk. "Harding's a scared man, easily swayed by influence and money," Cyrus replied, his gaze fixed on a shadowy figure lurking near the entrance. "But the real question is, who's pulling Thorne's strings?" The answer came not in words, but in a frantic burst of activity. A young man, barely more than a boy, burst from the back room, clutching a blood-stained cloth. "They got him!" he cried, his voice cracking with fear. "Cyrus, they found him dead in his office. Shot clean through the heart." The saloon erupted in chaos. Jedediah felt a familiar wave of anger and frustration wash over him. Cyrus, the quiet ledger-keeper, another casualty in this escalating conflict. "Sheriff!" Jedediah bellowed over the din, pushing his chair back and heading towards Harding, who looked like he was about to faint. "Secure the scene. I want every witness accounted for." As he stepped outside, he saw that Cyrus had already vanished into the crowd. He felt a sense of urgency pressing down on him. This was a random violence. It was a targeted execution. Jedediah found Hardy attempting to maintain order around Cyrus's office. The door was splintered, a clear sign of forced entry. A single ornate calling card lay on the floor amidst the debris, a coiled rattlesnake and Boston silver. "The rattlesnake gang," Harding stammered, wiping sweat from his brow. "They're known to work for hire." Jedediah picked up the calling card, examining it with a practiced eye. "Who hired them, Harding? Don't tell me this is just a random act of violence." Harding avoided his gaze, his silence an admission of guilt. I don't know, Jedediah. We're doing everything we can." Jedediah knew Harding was lying, shielding someone powerful within Copper Canyon. He also knew that Elara Thorne was likely to be at the heart of it all. That evening, Jedediah found himself drawn to Elara's camp, a lavish spread of tents and structures that stood in stark contrast to the rough-and-tumble nature of Copper Canyon. He found her seated on a veranda, overlooking the vast expanse of desert. "You seem troubled, Marshal Keller," Elara said, her voice calm and measured. "Cyrus is dead, Elara," Jedediah said, his tone clipped. "And I suspect you know more than you're letting on." Elara smiled faintly. "Tragic, isn't it? Another victim of this lawless territory. But what reason would I have to harm Cyrus? You have a habit of manipulating events, Elara," Jedediah said, his eyes fixed on hers. "And I'm not convinced you're as innocent as you appear." She chuckled softly. "You wound me, Marshal. Such accusations. I'm simply trying to maintain a semblance of order in this chaotic place." As Jedediah was about to press her further, a young boy approached, delivering a rolled-up parchment. Elara opened it, her expression darkening slightly. "It seems our esteemed Mayor Harding has decided to pay a visit to Tucson," she said, handing the parchment to Jedediah. "Apparently, he felt compelled to offer his assistance with Walker's legal defense." Jedediah read the note, his suspicions hardening. Harding's sudden trip to Tucson was a blatant attempt to influence Walker's case and protect the forces behind the escalating violence. "He's buying Walker's freedom," Jedediah said, his voice laced with anger. "And he's likely covering for someone else." Elara's smile widened. "A fascinating development, wouldn't you say, Marshal? It seems the threads of this conspiracy are becoming increasingly tangled." As Jedediah turned to leave, he noticed a flicker of something in Elara's eyes, a spark of triumph, perhaps, or maybe something more sinister. He couldn't quite place it, but it left him with a profound sense of unease. Later that night, Cyrus found Jedediah at his office. He carried a small, leather-bound journal. "I found this in Cyrus's safe," Cyrus said quietly. It seems he was keeping records, meticulously documenting financial transactions and correspondence. Jedediah took the journal and began to read. The entries were cryptic, filled with coded references and veiled threats, but one entry stood out, a detailed account of a secret map, hidden somewhere in the surrounding desert. "What is it?" Cyrus asked, peering over his shoulder. "A map," Jedediah said. It leads to a vein of quartz, a unique property, the journal suggests. Something very valuable. Cyrus's eyes widened. Quartz? What kind of value are we talking about? The journal doesn't say, Jedediah said, but I have a feeling it's something that powerful people are willing to kill for. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierced the night. Both men rushed outside to find that Elara's camp was ablaze. Flames leaped from the tents, casting eerie shadows across the desert. As they watched the inferno consume Elara's lavish spread, a figure emerged from the darkness. It was the man in hat, his face obscured by shadow. Seems our little game has taken a rather dramatic turn, the man in hat said, his voice cold and menacing. Who are you? Jedediah demanded, his hand instinctively reaching for his holster. Let's just say I'm a facilitator, the man in hat replied, stepping closer. And you, Marshal Keller, are becoming a significant obstacle. Before Jedediah could react, the man in hat spun on his heel and vanished into the night, leaving Jedediah standing alone in the flickering light of the burning town. You're making a big mistake, Jedediah called out, but his voice was lost in the roar of the flames. The man in hat paused momentarily at the edge of the desert, then turned back to look at Jedediah. A chilling smile spread across his face. I intend to make you permanent, Marshal Keller, he said softly, before disappearing completely.